The back waves, or spinal waves, is an interesting exercise to work on back mobility. This movement can be divided in two variations, one in which you would start and finish into a child's pose, and one in which you would start and finish into a downward dog position. We're going to combine both starting positions with a cat and cow, where you're just rounding forward, a small push-up, and a cobra. To start into the child's pose position, you want to have the big toes touching, wide knees, and your arms extended in front of you. From there, you're going to push as much as possible to round your back forward, and then finish into a half plank, where you're going to bend the elbows, lower down to a small push-up, and press back up into a cobra. Depending on your own flexibility, you might place your hands a little bit more forward to reduce the tension around the lower back. Once you're set, just press back into the child's pose and repeat. To start into the down dog position, come into a plank and then shift your weight back. Your hands should be more or less at shoulder width and your feet should be more or less at hip width. It doesn't really matter if your heels are down on the floor. Push into your toes and press your hips up towards the ceiling to round your spine all the way into a plank. Once you're into the plank, two options. Option number one, drop the knees down and do a push-up on your knees before going back into the cobra and then pushing back into the downward facing dog. Other option, you stay into the full plank, lower down with the straight legs, press into your cobra and then back into the downward facing dog. The goal is to draw a big wave with your back, so you're really rounding on the way forward, and on the way back, you can push your hips up and try and arch the whole spine. Be careful not to arch too much on the lower back. Make sure that the shoulders are active and that you're pushing your chest forward as well. You could inhale going forward, exhale pressing down and then cobra, and then inhale back into the down dog or the child's pose before exhaling again and starting the movement all over. You could also just breathe as you feel is easier for you. Just make sure that you don't hold your breath, as the goal is to mobilize the back. We need to be able to open the ribcage. Et voilà.